Well, hello again, and welcome to the second last section of the beach walk blanket. I've kind of lost track of what actual section number we're on now, but I will have figured it out by the time I put this video up, so you'll see it at the beginning of the video. But I do know that it is the second last one because we have another round of joining granny squares to do, and then it's just the border and edging. So really not too much more to go. I finished my 2 rounds of granny stripe, which was what I was working on the last time you saw me. The round of mushroom followed by the round of Parma violet. Now, count-wise, there are 59 clusters along the row of mushroom, including the one at each end. And of course, because they go up by 1 each time, that means that we've got 60 all the way along the Parma violet edge. So we're back to join as you go, continuous join as you go, and the 4 round granny squares. Now, you will have got to this point in the pattern, I hope. If you haven't, then that's your next job, is to follow the instructions to make all of these granny squares. I can't remember how many there were. I've got a feeling it's 52, so that's quite a lot. But they mean that you've got a chance to be away from the blanket itself, which is getting a bit big now, and you can make all these up, put them in order as normal, and put them onto your needle if that's what you're using, and there's your nice big juicy yarn kebab. And as you can see, all my ends in this case are finished off. The joining colour I'm going to be using is cream, so that's echoing back to the 9 squares way back at the beginning in the middle of the blanket. And the other thing I want to point out is, of course, the join is always done on the front of the blanket. And it just so happens in this case that because we only did 2 rounds of granny stripe, the first round being on the wrong side, this round is right side uppermost. Now, in other parts of the blanket, you've turned, this last round would have been wrong side uppermost. But just be aware, always when you're making your join, it's on the same side all the time. It's always on the front. You've got your stitch marker to remind you, but also the ridges of the join as you go are there. Now I'm just going to pull the first the first one off, and it doesn't really matter which corner you start in. These squares will all fit colour-wise with each other, so I've just picked this corner. Happens to be the one that's got the kind of goldeny camel colour, but that it really doesn't matter which side. The outside edge of the square is wrong side uppermost, and we're just going to start off and join as usual. And of course, as I'm speaking, I'm aware that I have got my blanket upside down for joining, so I'm going to pop back in just 2 ticks with the blanket the right way up. That's better. I need to have the blanket above my squares for the join as you go, of course, and I had it the wrong way around. So let's take the first one, and I'm not going to do too much of this continuous join as you go because really it's exactly the same as the other squares that you've joined. I just want to give you a quick reminder, if it's been some time since you did the large squares. We're working with half treble stitch again. So we make one side as usual. So I've attached my cream yarn in a corner, chain 2 and 2 half trebles. 1, 2 half trebles, and away we go. So it's just 3 half trebles in each of the spaces along the side of the square. That's 1, 2, 3, whoops. So that's 2 middle spaces and a third one. There are 3 spaces between each corner. And then we make the first half of the corner, 3 half trebles, and then lay the square into the right position and slip stitch it into the corner of the blanket, and then we just run along. You know this is going to come back just like second nature to you. 1, 2, 3, and 1, 2, 3. When we get, because we're working along a line of granny stripe, we don't have any joins between previous rounds of squares to worry about. So what we're going to do is the method, I'll just try and zip along and show you. Right, so I've got along to the corner of the square and put in the 3 half trebles and then just slip stitch into the next space as normal. And then finish off that corner with 3 half trebles and come down, take the next square and start to work up. Now I'll just pop back when I've got up this side and ready to attach to the corner. And then you can just work all the way around. So I'll see you back in just 2 ticks. So number 2 has joined up one side and I've got to the corner, and this is where I recommend that you slip stitch both into the top or the corner of the previous square and also the space in the blanket that you share with the previous square, like that, just to hold everything a little bit more firmly. And then you can finish that corner and off you go again. So I'll just let you see how that looks. It's nicely anchored there, and all you need to do is work all the way around. Of course, we're not doing the bottom edge at this point. That happens at the end, which is the last part. And I'll come back when I'm ready to start that, just to remind you. But for the time being, there's quite a long journey to go 3 ways round each square all the way around the blanket. So I shall crack on with that, and I'll see you when I see you. Bye for now. Hi again. Well, 52 squares joined later, and I'm back to the very first point where we started. This is the tail, the beginning tail. I've actually turned the blanket round, swung it round, so this is looking upside down, but that's because I'm ready to go back the way. And yep, I just want to remind you a couple of things, that this is not the joining finished at this point. We still have to go all the way back round the full 4 sides of the blanket with the outside edge of the join as you go. And also this little reminder about what happens here. Right, so I went all the way around and then came back here, came up here. This was the last square that I joined. Came up here. This got to the same point where it all started, but I continued and finished off that corner. Came along here, did my corner with 3 half trebles, chain 2 3 half trebles, and I'm starting the long journey down this side. And just to remind you that we have 3 half trebles to put in the first corner, 2, 3, between the two squares, because obviously there was just the one half of it already done. Chain 1, slip stitch into the middle between the squares, chain 1 and 3 half trebles, 1, 2, 3. And that's how we make a nice neat join, or not so much join, but how we carry the outside edge neatly over the join. So that's all we'll need to do as you work along. The same thing in this one and right the way round. And then when you come back to this point, you've just got 3 half trebles, chain 2, slip stitch into the top of the very first chain 2, and then also slip stitch into the corner here to join them together and fasten off. So there's just 2 ends that you have to sew in. And that is the end of this section. I'll be back in the next video with the border and the edging. So I'll see you then. Bye.